So Gen V ends next week, and this episode is setting up a great finale. We get a few familiar faces this week, a secret past revealed, and this show has never felt more connected to the boys after this episode. So as always, I'm Al, this is the Geek in Review, and I'm going to be talking about Gen V episode 107, Sick. So before we get to it, just to say thanks for taking the time to choose to watch this channel. If you haven't done it already, please hit subscribe and leave a like on the video as well. So the episode opens with another superhero in the woods, and God you are trying to infect them in groups to spread the virus, as Dr. Cardoza and Dean Shetty watch on. Shetty has designs on the virus and wants to make it airborne to make sure it spreads and it's more contagious. So whatever the original goal by the Doctor was, she seems to be setting up her own ending. As Cardoza points out, this isn't what Vought asked for. And he's really unhappy with the direction that she wants to take this, so much so that he threatens to go to Vought himself. We then see Kate, who calls Shetty asking to meet up later on, and you can tell that Kate isn't taking the pills to suppress her powers. That's because Kate intends to use them to expose Shetty and God you. And as I said, this episode features a few familiar faces, and one of them is Victoria Newman, who's on her way to God you for a debate, which is drawing some attention due to her seemingly anti-superhero stance. And this plays an absolutely huge factor in this episode that we'll see later on. The gang debate if they can trust Kate as she can wipe them anytime she wants, as Marie and Jordan grow closer, but they need Kate to help expose Shetty in the university. Jordan realises that he has access to her office, meaning they might not need Kate after all, but Marie comes up with the idea of giving any evidence they find over to Newman then, as she's not entirely sure the public would believe both of them. Once they get to the office, Marie finds evidence of all the Vought cover-ups going back to the flight from season 1 of The Boys, and it seems that Shetty had family on board, namely her husband and her daughter. So if you don't remember or you haven't seen The Boys season 1, what happened was Homelander and Queen Maeve tried to save a hijacked flight, but instead ended up making the situation a lot worse, abandoning everyone on board to die in order to save their image. Cardoza comes into the office drunk, mumbling about the virus, so Marie knows that something else is going on in the woods. While this is happening, Emma and Sam are back at the uni discussing what Sam's done, and he's told her about his visions and the puppets. And remember for a moment, this is the first time Sam's really been out living a near normal life that we've seen since the show started, and it's not even that normal. And the experiences that Sam's been through in the woods and what's gone on with his brother is really going to shape his perspective when it gets to the end of this episode. Emma goes to get them some food, and Sam joins in some college hijinks with other students, going to a party after being told Emma's already there by Rufus. And as I said, we get more than one familiar face here, so Dean Shetty has set up to meet Mallory, the sort of cult leader of the boys, and it seems that she might be on Butcher's side after all. She offers to give the virus to Mallory in order to wipe out the supes, but as Mallory sees it, it's mass genocide, but with her family dead, Shetty's got nothing to lose. Mallory tells her rage is going to consume her like it did Butcher, and that's not a road that she wants to go down. And it seems that the boys might have been listening to all this, because we see that Mallory speaks to someone on the phone at the end, telling them to keep an eye on Shetty. So the boys might be more connected to this show than we're already aware, and there might have been stuff going on behind the scenes that we're going to see in season 4 when it airs. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. But Polarity, Andre's dad, is getting interviewed as he's moderating the Newman event, as Andre watches telling Kate that they're no longer talking after he finds out that his dad's connected to what's going on at the university. And while they're watching the interview, the TV crackles on and off, and initially it looks like it's some sort of attack, and it kind of is, but it turns out that his dad's had a seizure, so I guess this is why Polarity's no longer wearing a suit or fighting crime. Emma gets back to her dorm room, finding Sam gone, while he's at the debate with Newman, and she's explaining her platform for getting supes elected, giving them a voice in government. The last scene of season 3 of The Boys gets talked about where Homelander killed someone on public, and Newman wants him to go on trial, but all the audience being supes turn on her, and you bet she probably wanted to pop a few heads in this situation. Jordan manages to cause a distraction to get Marie into the behind the scenes of the debate, where she finds Newman, who seems to know who Marie is. And initially I thought that this was because Stan Edgar was going to be Marie's mysterious benefactor, because he'd done exactly the same with Newman, but there's a bit of a twist on that and I'll get to it in a minute. Newman discusses Marie's powers, asking what else she can do. So she's definitely been studying her, and like the other superheroes in the show like Kate and Emma, Marie's powers probably have a further reach than we know, and we see an example of it here. She senses the compound V in Newman's blood, so she knows that they're a supe, and they're definitely setting Marie up to be heavily linked to the virus, although I'm not exactly sure how yet. Exactly. And they've got quite a lot in common. Both of them are women, they grew up at Red River, they've both got a blood power, so they've lived very similar lives. And Newman even says to Marie that she thinks she's set for bigger things. Marie tells Newman about the woods, the virus, and everything that's going on at the university, and Victoria just says she'll handle it, but not exactly how. So interesting. If you're a fan of the boys, you can probably see where this is going. But Newman is definitely trying to get hold of the virus for her own ends. Emma manages to find Sam, who's been enjoying the event, seemingly taking the right-wing supes side in all this. Kate meets Shetty and she knows she's off her pills, as I said, and Shetty tells her about her plan and needs Kate for protection, and we find out that Shetty does genuinely care for Kate because Shetty's daughter has been taken from her as well. So Dean Shetty isn't necessarily the bad guy in the story really overall, but she's definitely the villain for the supes, and I think that's a very interesting twist because it all comes down to like shades of grey in your point of view. So in some viewers' eyes, Shetty might be the hero, but in others she might want to be the villain. She expected Mallory to agree with her and go on side and attack the supes, but Mallory, like Newman, is thinking about big picture stuff. Kate summons the gang to Shetty's house and has glamoured her because she's found out the truth about God University. And it's all a big experiment. It's not a place where supes study, it's a place where supes are studied. Hence details that I've mentioned already, like the heavy prison doors, the barriers, the windows in the doors, the security, and of course the secret underground base. They find out about Shetty's past and her murdered family and her plans to wipe out the supe. Kate now seems to have joined the pro-supe side along with Sam, forcing Shetty to kill herself, and everyone's shocked by this apart from Sam, who thinks that she's getting justice. And again, going back to what I just said about Shetty, Sam's right as well, or he's wrong depending on your point of view. Both Sam and Kate have been suffering and exploited by Shetty for years, so they don't care that she's going to die just as she doesn't care that they might die. The episode ends with Dr. Cardosia giving the virus to Newman in exchange for going into hiding, and of course she's going to kill him, right? Right? Like I said, we get so many more connections to the Boys TV show, so it's letting us know that these two shows are existing at the same time. It's not just a spin-off where things can happen and it doesn't affect the main show like the Walking Dead ones. What happens in Gen V is going to have consequences in the Boys, and what happens in the Boys is going to have consequences in Gen V. But with the whole virus thing, I wonder, are they setting up the finale of the comic books? And if so, it seems to be pretty close. Now, I don't want to get into the ending of the comic books too much, but it seems from this episode Kate is taking the role of Homelander and getting the supes together as a weapon in order to fight those that oppose him. That's sort of what happens in the comic books, and there's a virus involved there, so it seems that all roads are leading to this. But if that's the case, then that means that surely we're only going to have another season of The Boys and another season of Gen V. But yeah, interesting. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. If you've read the comics, let me know what you think in the comments below. And it gave some great motivation to the character, tying in with events that we've already seen, and like I say, comic book readers are absolutely going to love this. But if you haven't read the comics, I'm going to be covering them soon once The Boys Season 4 starts, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. But I think the show is back on track after 2 weeks of not really going anywhere, and the pace has really picked up, speeding into the finale. I'm sure we're going to get more familiar faces next week as well from the main TV show, but yeah, Really like this one. I think it's been my favourite episode since episode 2. And the real reason for God You getting revealed that this has been teased all the way through the season as well. With Red River being founded in the same year as God You, and as I mentioned earlier, it explains the bars, the woods, the research, and I love it all. But as always, that's just my opinion. I want to know what you guys think, so let me know in the comments below. Or you can reach out to me on Twitter at The Geeks Reviews. As always, my name's Al. Thanks for watching.